Congratulations on completing the first module. Let us now briefly summarise what we have considered in this module.
Yes, so what do we actually teach when we teach EFL, that is English as a Foreign Language?
Okay, as you have seen, there are different areas of language that you will be expected to teach in the classroom. The English language is divided into language skills and language systems. So, do you remember how many skills and systems there are?
Yes, there are 4 skills and 4 systems. There is the skill of reading and listening, and speaking and writing. These are grouped into receptive and productive skills respectively. Then there are 4 language systems: grammar, vocabulary.
Yes, although we prefer to refer to vocabulary as lexis, and you'll find out why later in the course.
Okay, lexis, functions, and phonology or pronunciation.
Correct. So there are 2 types of lessons then, a skills lesson and a systems lesson. We teach skills and systems lessons using different approaches, which you will explore later in the course.
We also established that the starting point for teaching is the student, and whatever happens in the classroom is informed by what the students need. So, how can we know what our students need?
Yes, the success of your teaching is measured by how much students have learnt, not by how well you use the approaches and strategies. Our students' needs and interests should inform what and how to teach. When we meet a new student for the first time, we need to carry out a needs analysis to find out about their reasons for learning English and their motivation, their interests and what they don't like, their previous learning experience and their preferred way of learning. Do they like to work in pairs or individually? To work in silence or with background music? We need to learn about their perceived strengths and weaknesses, and obviously their personal profile, including their age, profession, and where they come from.
All these factors should have an impact on my lesson planning and teaching.
Yes, you should use what you know about your students to engage them in the lesson, which will in turn create a positive learning environment. And remember, getting to know your students doesn't end with the initial needs analysis. You need to listen to your students very carefully throughout their course, and focus on and analyse the type of errors they make. And needs analysis is an ongoing process that never ends.
So my role as a teacher is to make sure all students engage with the activities I design, right? But how do I achieve this? How can I make my lessons communicative?
Communicative learning means students are not just learning from explanations and rules, but are actively involved in the lesson. So, make sure that students are actually doing things in your lessons, instead of just listening to you lecturing them on how to use the language. Rule number 1 is, avoid explanations. Base your teaching on eliciting, not instructing. We will show you how to do it in the next modules. Rule number 2 is, plan plenty of practice activities with clear communicative purposes. Students need to practice the language in a meaningful way. They need to know why they are communicating. The why is crucial to make an activity meaningful. And rule number 3 is, get your lesson off to a good start. Engage students right from the start of the lesson. Plan a nice lead-in or a warmer activity to introduce the context and theme of the lesson, and get students to communicate right from the beginning.
Finally, my role as a teacher. Can you briefly summarize this point as well, please?
So, there are a number of roles that you will have to take on in the classroom. This mirrors real life, where we all have different roles as well. Your main role, though, is the role of a facilitator. Someone who creates the right learning environment and enables students to progress in their studies. Throughout the lesson, your role will then change from one stage to another and from one activity to another. For example, at different stages of a lesson, you will have to be an organizer, an observer, a feedback provider, a resource, a prompter, to name just some of the roles.
So you are saying that the teacher has so many roles, but not the role of someone who explains, right? The teacher should not explain things, but many students will probably expect the teacher to give explanations as this is how they understand teaching. I'm a bit confused here.
Yes, as I said, the communicative approach is student-centered, not teacher-centered. So, your role as a teacher is not to tell, but to guide, by asking the right questions which you plan prior to the lesson. Develop a habit of turning every statement into a question. This will help you to engage your students in the lesson. Do not tell students what they could tell you.